Aloha!
Hello
Welcome
there.
to this episode of the Goddess Corner. And here I have the beautiful Jupiter 1111, and I, April Williams, are here to discuss with you a more spiritual aspect of beauty.
Mhm.
How do we call in this beautiful body, this beautiful self? How do we really interact with God, the universe, right? And it's typically through what God sends our way. And sometimes we're supposed to be using discernment. I guess basically, roundaboutly, what's the circle that you keep? Who are the friends that you keep close to you? What's the energy around you? That's what you're cultivating, and you have the right and the permission to set boundaries for your own health. So we're talking about setting yourself up for success with spirit, being able to maintain your divine feminine energy. Um, is not having catty women around you who are possibly, living in a state of lack, right? That's why we end up having these competitions amongst ourselves. There's a state of lack, be it a lack of attention or a lack of some kind of resources. So um, I was led to Chronicles in the Bible, and I was led to the end of Jehoshaphat's life. And he was buried in Israel, but he wasn't allowed to be in the temple of the kings because he co conspired with a very wicked man. Um, and then it says that his son also had a mother who agreed with this wicked man, and so he wasn't able to really reign very long at all because not only did he not work with God, but he also um, was seeded these bad ideas or these wickednesses from his mother. And so the idea is to come in this earth with as clean a slate as possible, always working with right intention, with your whole heart. Because there's also a son who didn't rule for very long either, even though his mother, he was allowed to be in the Valley of the Kings, but his mother was only half hearted, right? So
Mhm.
we actually determine the king. We determine the nature of our offspring. Everything that we say and we think and we feel with our heart actually becomes a reality. And if you are having like an incongruence or you're feeling off in your spirituality, you want to take a look at who's around you. You want to take a look at what thoughts are playing through your head and your past and how that was grown. And then also, you want to take a look at how to step into where it is that you want to be, feel, experience. So, um, now, how do we master our inner universe? I know Jupiter 1111's got some advice on that.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like, we're told that, whatever things are good and pure and perfect, think on those things. And I was talking to April, like, about like my body acting wacky and my sugars were out of whack. And then all of a sudden they just kind of broke and they started getting back to normal. And we were talking about, oh, maybe she was talking about Patricia McNally, and the sweet life, and sometimes that happens when you're thinking about those thoughts. Um, and I was telling her, I was able to go out once a week and do all these things, take myself on dates or go on a date or, whatever, go out with my friends once a week. And because of the situation that we're currently in the States where things are opening up, but they're not like they were before, in Chicago, is just me missing that component. And I was actually kind of complaining about that. And my body was reacting to me not seeing that I had the sweet life. And then God had to remind me, He's like, this is temporary. What you're seeing is temporary. It is only a symptom. It is not the truth. What is the truth? What is the divine truth? Took me back to like, oh, the truth is that I am healthy. That's a divine truth. I am, that my life is sweet. That I have all these beautiful things happening for me. That I am able to go out. That I do have freedoms that a lot of people don't have and not enjoying. And once that happened, I didn't recognize that until I had the conversation with April. Even though I was answering those things with God in that moment, and then later on when I checked my sugars, they were coming back to normal. So I'm like, oh, I remember that. You know, I'm not always the sharpest tool in the shed.
What's your
I was
question?
like, yeah. So I was like, I remember that next time when I see that, my sugar levels going kind of crazy and out of whack when they shouldn't be, because it was like I was taking even extra medicine, double the amount of medicine, and there were still the same numbers. I'm like, this isn't making any sense. But once I had the conversation and then even talking to April, I'm like, oh, that's why they broke. That's why. And that's the thing about having the right people in your midst, that when you're going through something, who's like, okay, let's just have a conversation. What were you thinking? I was like, well, I don't know what I was thinking. And then she mentioned the sweet life. And I'm like, oh, I was kind of thinking these kind of things. That's why it's so important to have discernment. And I was telling her I don't always have, because I'm a Sagittarius rising, and I have my mom and my ex-husband, may rest in power, that they would say that, you're so naive, and so they would do all these controlling mechanisms around me because they were afraid for me because of my naivete, not being wise, because I can see the end from the beginning for people, like the best version of themselves. I can see right through them. I can see through time sometimes through them, like a time lord. I can see it, and then focus so much on that potential that I don't see their actualization.
Ugh,
And so
right.
now, now I just pray, and I try to pray that every day. And I'm like, I'm so grateful, God. I was telling her, I go, at the end of time when God showed me, I'm like, you're going to show me all the stuff that you closed on me. He's like, get some popcorn. It wouldn't be here for a while. Because now I pray, like, please, I thank you for opening up the doors that no man can shut, and shutting the doors that no man can open, including me, because I can open up some doors that I should. And that's the thing, is like, God's always great. That's grace. Like, hey, don't go there. Don't do it. Don't, no, come back. Come back to me. Come back to me. No, don't go that way. And sometimes we're just like, no, we'll be fine. La la la. No, it won't be fine. So if sometimes you're hard headed like me, you're just gonna be like, oh Lord, help me, Spirit, close those doors that I am not supposed to walk through. And another thing I say is like, thank you for that. I'm at the right place at the right time with the right people. What does that mean? They have to be at the right place at the right time and be the right people, because
Absolutely.
with our empathy, we can end up creating soul ties with people that we should not be having a soul tie with, because they've been through what we've been through, and then we're so empathic because we know we've been there, we've come out of that pit, and we don't have discernment. It doesn't mean we're not supposed to engage with them, but maybe we're just supposed to cross paths to show them, how we got out of the pit, and that was the end of it. That was the beginning and the end. But then they're not in a place to actually go through the process of healing. They were just supposed to get that information, and then we start creating these soul ties. And they were like, wow, this, I thought she was my friend, but this is very messy all of a sudden. Because we didn't have discernment, and we end up creating these connections with people that are not good for us.
And we can't fix people. You can't change
No.
that person's insides. They have to be willing to change that themselves. And miracles can happen, but not everybody. You always say, I've heard it before, a season, a reason, or everybody's there for a reason. Some are there for a season, some are there for a lifetime. So just being able to really check in with yourself and allow it to be okay to set a boundary. Allow it to be okay to say, you know what, this is out of alignment. And I'm one of those, like, I'm Leo Sun, Libra Moon, so I'm very balanced, but I'm also that Taurus rising, right? So I come in like a bull, I come in hard, and I like my comfort. So if you're getting me out of my comfort zone, that's one thing. I'm willing to grow in exchange. But if you're also pushing me to a level of, I don't think so, oh, you're going to hear about it, okay? And we're going to stop it right now. Why? Because God gave me discernment. He does his best to guide you, to give you discernment. So we're circling back to the naivete, like, yeah, I was naive, I learned the lesson, but you know what, I'm still going to be this open-hearted sweetness. And when I'm this way and someone comes at me the way that I've learned, I know that, okay, this person is out of integrity. Okay, well, this is just, you know a guise. How can someone say to you, I'm here for you, I'm with you, but they're holding on to someone else's hand? That doesn't even make sense. You know what I mean? I mean, with both hands, obviously. So, getting into actual alignment, getting into spiritual alignment, using your spiritual discernment, God's going to send you all kinds of messages. The universe is very, very clear. Well, sometimes it's hazy. Okay, let's not, let's not. Sometimes it's angel numbers all day, and then you're like, who's playing this song to me? Like, you just can't even hear. But Once you get
Yeah.
through the awe, the shock and awe of that God and the universe is speaking to you, your source is speaking to you, once you get through that, then you start to be able to align things. Like, okay, Lord, what is your intention for me today? How can I serve this universe? How can I serve this world? What is the next step? um, Take a shower, read your Bible, do something. Something will come to you organically, and then you step into that righteously. If it's saying, if so and so is calling, but they always seem to be calling when you're about to do something amazing, but they suck the life out of you, and then something inside of you says, don't answer the call. You're not obligated to do the thing that you think the story is. Well, they're spiritually are in need, and I can tell. Yes, but they can also tell that you're about to do something great, and so, why don't you focus on yourself for a change? Why don't you let go of all the unhealthy attachments and go on to the brighter, lighter, more in flow with you and your spirit? So, I'd like to invite you to comment below when you had an experience that you kind of really are happy that you did, or one that you kicked yourself in the butt for. Either way,
Yeah.
how do you keep in tune with spirit? How do you? I like to open my Bible. Like I just I'm always in prayer, right? Because we are the answers to our ancestors' prayers. So might as well
Yes,
get
we
on
are.
that.
Yes. And what a beautiful thought to end with. We are the answer to our ancestors' prayer. We have been gifted to be in this timeline where women are more free than they have been in all of history. And that we get to make history on behalf of our ancestors and that they are cheering us on. So why don't we give them something to cheer on?
So excited for my granddaughter. Oh, she is gonna have such a blast. This world is a whole new place
Hmm.
for
Yes,
them. So
yes. Thank you so much for being with us. We hope you're enjoying this series of the Goddess Corner, and we'll be with you uh, very, very shortly. Right now, we're posting on Mondays and Fridays, so check us out on the channels and let us know what you would like to see here, how we can empower you, amazing divine feminines. Until next time, which will be very soon. Bye now.
bye. Stay blessed. Stay golden. Peace.